Family, what it do? It's your girl Toot, and I am back with another video. Shout out to the squad. Happy New Year. You feel what I mean? Listen, like, comment, share, and subscribe. That's all you got to do to support the channel. We're going to Connecticut. We're going to look at what's going on with this 11-year-old, okay? Listen, you guys, it takes a village. My motto does not change, all right? These children need us more now than anything. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to look in these communities and look on our feeds to see that we have a problem that's going on. Okay? It's not stopping. It's not.
There are no words that can make sense of a situation like this.
It's horrifying what happened to this child.
It's overwhelming. It's a little kid. It's a little kid.
Evidence indicates that Jaqueline was the victim of prolonged physical abuse and malnourishment prior to her death. After responding officers made their initial discovery, the property of 80 Clark Street was established as a crime scene.
Those human remains were found here on Clark Street in the backyard in a large container.
Jaqueline likely died in the fall of 2024 while her family was still residing in Farmington.
There were so many eyes on her before her death that nobody picked up on.
Jaqueline Mimi Torres Garcia's death has raised a lot of questions.
We want to know why, what happened.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Keisha Grant.
And I'm Mike Heideck. Horrific, heartbreaking, disturbing. Just some of the words being used to describe what happened to Jaqueline Torres Garcia. While police work to find justice for her, it is clear something or someone failed this little girl.
Without a doubt, this case has sparked a lot of anger, not just at the people charged in her death, but at the system as well. We'll take a closer look at that coming up, but first, we want to take you through the twists and turns of this complicated case, and there are so many. We do need to warn you, the details are difficult to hear. October 8th, 2025, an anonymous caller sending New Britain police to an abandoned property on Clark Street. What officers found set off an investigation that has shocked Connecticut and the world.
I'm so tired of these babies being discarded like they're trash. You know what I mean? There's so many things that you have access to if you don't want children now. And I just don't understand how a mother can carry a child in her womb for 9 months. You know what I mean? Just to be able to aid in discarding a child like trash. This is probably like this is like the third, fourth case where a baby just was discarded in an abandoned building like trash. I mean, it just bothers the fuck out of me, man.
The remains of a young girl, just 11 years old, found in a plastic storage container.
I don't understand. There's no way to wrap your head around this.
In the days following, pressure mounting on New Britain police to release more details. The community desperate for information.
As a mother, this makes me sick to my stomach to be standing here today with what we're about to tell you.
Those details ended up being more horrific than anyone could imagine. The little girl's name, Jaqueline Torres Garcia, known as Mimi to her loved ones.
She was my love. She was everything for me.
Investigators believe she had been dead for about a year.
Jaqueline's body was kept in the family's basement and subsequently moved when the family relocated from Farmington in March of 2025.
Police saying the people responsible were those closest to Mimi. Her mother, Carla Garcia, the mother's boyfriend, Jonathan Nanita.
This is why, with all due respect, it takes a village. Because sometimes these kids are suffering in the hands of their family. So what is a child supposed to do if we started minding on our own business, right? If we started minding our own business to just our family solely, then what happens to these other children? I ask you that. Because in a lot of cases I see over and over again, sometimes there being so much pushback when it comes down to not being blood or not being related to a person and things like this. What happens when a baby is suffering from family? You see what I'm saying? And see, this is how Jarvis is supposed to look. I don't condone violence, but somebody fucked him up, and this is what needs to be seen. That this type of shit ain't happening. See, this ain't happening no more. Jarvis and that motherfucker looking pretty than the fuck. You did? You know what I'm saying? This is how every motherfucker need to look. You know what I mean? I'm just being honest, bro. Like, seriously, I'm so sorry, but let's keep going.
Both charged with her murder. Mimi's aunt, Jaqueline Garcia, charged with child cruelty and unlawful restraint.
No child should ever have to endure such suffering.
Search warrants released by Farmington Police this week detailing that alleged suffering. In a stunning admission, Carla Garcia allegedly telling investigators she and Nanita stopped feeding Mimi for approximately 2 weeks prior to her death. Police say she also admitted to restraining Mimi with zip ties and said Jaqueline Garcia sent her a photo showing the child zip-tied on the floor. The question on everyone's mind is how? How could this have happened?
Had there been any reports that she had been missing? Had anybody raised concerns, either from school districts or anybody, about where she had been for months?
No. The Department of Children and Families revealing the agency has been involved with this family for more than a decade.
Another common denominator is CPS. Bro, we got to start leaning on them more. You feel me? They making a mockery out of these babies. They supposed to be damn near the second line of defense for these children after the police. But see, the breakdown is the police ain't doing shit. CPS ain't doing shit. These babies don't stand a motherfucking chance.
Their interactions included a video call with someone Carla Garcia told DCF was her daughter Jaqueline. But that happened in January 2025, and the medical examiner believes she had died months earlier. A neighbor says Garcia brought this up when she spoke with her before her arrest.
Well, she basically said she had somebody pretending to be her daughter.
Both DCF and the Office of the Child Advocate are conducting investigations. Meanwhile, anger is spilling over. Both in the courtroom and at the memorial site. A community devastated by the loss of a beautiful little girl whose life came to a brutal end 1 year ago, and nobody seemed to notice. And that is how we got here tonight. We have new video that shows Carla Garcia's arrest.
You can see officers at the door of her apartment located on Tremont Street in New Britain. Garcia is seen being placed into handcuffs and was taken into custody on October 12th, 4 days after her daughter's remains were discovered.
The suspects in this case all had prior criminal histories. Carla Garcia, Mimi's mother, was convicted of assault in 2019. New Britain police say she repeatedly punched her ex-girlfriend in the face and grabbed her by the hair. She served 2 years probation.
Jonathan Anita was convicted in 2022 of reckless endangerment and interfering with an officer. He had been driving with Garcia when he was stopped by police. He took off from that stop and struck an officer. He was sentenced to just under 1 year in prison. Mimi's aunt, Jaqueline, was arrested in 2023 for risk of injury to a child. Her 11-month-old child had multiple bruises and broken bones when she was brought to Connecticut Children's. She was convicted and sentenced to 10 years, suspended after 18 months. Her record shows she served about 8 months.
Carla Garcia and Jonathan are being held on $5 million bond each. Jaqueline Garcia on $1 million bond.
You know what's fucking me up the most is the fact that I'm not understanding how so many people per family could be involved in this type of shit. I mean, we see it in an Isaiah case. You got so many different parties within the family that is crazy. You got Shannon, you got Annette, you got Jarvis. Like, how did the family be so fucking to get 3 dummies? Nah, facts. Fuck that. Let's be honest. Same case with this one. Like, how is there 3 motherfucking dummies all in one cluster to where this baby don't deserve a chance? I mean, it's not nobody amongst them with common sense or anybody to be able to help this kid, bro. It blows me.
All 3 are due in court November 14th. A judge sealed the arrest warrants for the 3 of them until October 28th. We should learn more about the case once those are unsealed.
The custody timeline in this case is important, so let's take you back to the beginning. Jaqueline Mimi Torres Garcia was born January 29, 2013 at Hartford Hospital. Her mother, Carla Garcia, was 16 years old, and family members have said she was in a detention center at the time. So Mimi's paternal grandmother became her legal guardian and remained in her care until 2022. In May of that year, a court reinstated guardianship for her biological parents, Carla and Mimi's father. He applied for joint custody the next year, alleging that Carla was not honoring their agreement. In June 2024, Carla and Jaqueline Garcia and Jonathan Nanita and the children moved to Farmington, and Carla was granted sole custody. The judge who made that ruling noted that Mimi's father did not appear at that hearing. Carla Garcia filed paperwork 2 months later withdrawing Mimi from New Britain schools, saying she intended to homeschool her. We learned from search warrants that
that baby probably was already deceased when she did that. That baby probably, as soon as she withdrawn her, that baby was probably already deceased. We need something better in place. I think when a child is withdrawn, CPS should automatically go to that child's house just to do a physical check or something, because to me that would be a red flag. Why would I don't understand why that would happen. I just think that it is so broken to where we have a system that is aiding, you know what I'm saying, motherfuckers like them to be able to continue to harm kids.
Carla told her sister that Mimi died September 19th, 2024. Her body found a year later. For most of Mimi's short life, she was with her grandparents. We spoke to them about who Mimi was and the lengths her mother allegedly went to hide a horrible secret.
Right now,
it's just like, just leave them with the grandparents. What was the point of coming back to get her?
got the heart broke.
Tremendous heartache in the wake of a senseless tragedy. In the days following the discovery of his granddaughter Mimi's body, Felix Osario says she was really more like a daughter to him.
Like a father to her, because she was on our house like from the first month she came to the war.
The little girl's grandparents say they often tried to visit Mimi or even just speak with her, but they faced excuses from Carla Garcia every time.
So then she told me, I will call you when they come out. And then I was waiting for the call, and I called back, and she said, oh, they are sleeping. I cannot show it to you right now. I will do it tomorrow.
Siempre tenía una excusa, siempre tenía algo que decir que no nos dejaba.
That's the grandmother? Oh yeah, they said that she had the child early. Because I was about to say, the fuck?
Osario says Mimi's father also tried to see his daughter, but was also turned away.
My son called her, go to her house, say, Mimi don't want to see you today.
Stunned by their loss, Mimi's grandparents are now remembering the bright, energetic little girl they last saw in 2023.
She was happy all the time, real happy. She liked to play. She liked to, everywhere she was jumping.
Ella era bien happy, era bien feliz con nosotros. Ella nos amaba. En realidad nos amaba y siempre voy a estar.
And we have been working around the clock to find out more about who this little girl known as Mimi was. Doris Bardales from our sister station Telemundo Nueva Inglaterra has been speaking with those who live in her old neighborhood in New Britain.
It's difficult to watch this video without feeling a sense of loss. Mimi appears happy, well cared for, and loved. This video of a birthday celebration was taken while she was in the care of her father's family. Jaqueline Torres Garcia attended Chamberlain Elementary School from kindergarten until 5th grade. Records indicate that while Jaqueline was still attending school, her mother, Carla Garcia, and her other children lived at an apartment complex on Church Street in Britain. Juan Brito, an employee at a nearby bodega, recalls seeing Jaqueline walking in the area and buying items.
I always saw her. She was very calm. She didn't talk much, but she was always very calm. She would just come in, buy stuff, and then she would leave.
Brito says it might have been over a year since he and others who worked at the local bodega last saw Jaqueline. He describes her as a quiet girl who mostly kept to herself. There were times...
Beautiful little girl. Beautiful little girl. To be able to it being so easy for you to starve a baby. I mean, how can you look at this little girl face and just do anything to her like that? Like, you know, that just goes to show you how sick motherfuckers really is, bro. You know, she was being 100% taken care of by her grandparents, and you want to come back and disrupt her life when you know for a fact you're not ready to be with a mother. It's okay. Like, I wish people would just come to terms with that shit. If you're not a great mama, it's okay. Admit that bitch. You know what I'm saying? Just tell the truth, because that's the only way that things is... Man, look at this shit, man. Look at this shit.
She visited alone and other times accompanied by a younger sibling. The visits to the store were quite frequent.
It's something very sad. Very sad because she was a little girl.
Those who knew Jaqueline look back at this picture and remember her as a bright light with a radiant smile. Her favorite food, says her grandmother, was steak and lobster.
This time the family has chosen not to speak publicly as they are currently involved in a custody case concerning Jaqueline's younger sibling. In Britain...
Do you understand how that shit is? I'm sorry, y'all, but her favorite food with her grandparents was steak and lobster, and she goes from that to being starved. Psychologically, can you understand what that shit is doing to a child? Can you understand what her torment was on these last days? Like, that shit bothers me so bad. Like, oh my God.
NBC Connecticut News.
Now, hours before Jaqueline's mother, Carla Garcia, was arrested, she allegedly spoke to a neighbor who lives in the same apartment building.
That neighbor sat down with NBC Connecticut's Jane Chaco to share what she learned about Mimi's murder. Jane.
Mike and Keisha, that conversation started with a mother's sympathy for another, and that neighbor says the more they talked, the more questions she had.
The home address listed on Carla Garcia's arrest report is this building in New Britain. Kimberly White says she met Garcia earlier this year when their children started to play together.
Really good friends, like bread and butter.
White says her conversations with Garcia were brief and friendly, usually about the kids. When human remains of a girl were discovered on Clark Street, White heard Garcia could be involved.
She owed me some answers, because I've never even met this little girl.
The two were talking about doing an episode for White's podcast. A search warrant from Farmington Police reveals Garcia told a detective she was about to go on a podcast prior to her arrest on October 12th, and she wrote notes of the story on her cell phone so she could reference them for the podcast. Before the recording, Garcia sent White a text message that NBC Connecticut obtained a copy of. We then verified Garcia's phone number with a family member. The text read in part, quote, "I want to apologize to my daughter for failing her as a mother and being afraid to speak to anyone about the situation." Another part said, quote, "There's nothing in this world that will ever make me accept the fact that she's no longer here. My heart is broken for her siblings, her father, her family. I'm sorry." White says she and a friend went upstairs to do the episode. Garcia ended up backing out of doing the podcast, but White says she still wanted answers.
We just started doing a bad cop, good cop type of thing, you know, asking her questions, and that's when I was aware that the little girl was dead since September of 2024. So my best friend was like, well, nobody ever wondered where the little girl was when they came over. So she basically said she had somebody pretending to be her daughter. At that point, me and my best friend looked at each other like, yeah, no, there's something wrong.
Garcia was arrested the evening of October 12th, charged with murdering her own daughter. Looking back, White says she shouldn't have let Garcia Watch her son.
I just wish that I had a better judge of character, because I couldn't do nothing but pray because of my son. Like, you know, my son was up there. Anything could have happened to my baby. She didn't seem like a monster. She seemed like a high-spirited young lady.
White moved into Garcia's apartment building back in April of this year, and she says she never saw Jaqueline with Carla. And that follows the police department's timeline. They determined Jaqueline died in the fall of 2024. Mike and Keisha.
Jane Chaco, thank you.
So for most of Jaqueline's life, DCF was involved with her family.
And now they are facing tough questions about if more could have been done to protect her.
Hell yeah, more can be done. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not understanding. Like, we have all of this money that's allotted, and that goes to DCF, but they don't care about nothing. Their caseloads is up high. They don't go and really check and do no authentic checks on these babies. You know what I'm saying? They writing, they sending these kids back into the houses, you know what I'm saying, that they being hurt in. I just don't get it.
There's a lot of questions we're trying to get answered about that.
Coming up next, what we're learning from the department under fire. Plus,
yeah, the father tried to get custody, but it seemed like he didn't show up to a specific case, so they dropped it.
We're hearing from the former child advocate about changes that could come at the state level in the wake of Mimi's death. Stay with me.
I think it is horrible and horrific, and my heart breaks for Jaqueline and what she went through.
Lawmakers continue to look for answers, and DCF is once again under the microscope as details continue to come out about their interactions with Mimi's family. This is the second high-profile case this year where the department has come under fire.
back in March, it was revealed a Waterbury man was allegedly held captive for 20 years, and now his stepmother is facing charges. The department recently did a review of that case and determined it had followed protocols in place at the time.
Now, reviews are underway of the state's previous involvement with the family of Jaqueline Torres Garcia. NBC Connecticut's Matt Austin is here now with more. Matt.
Yeah, so Mike and Keisha, DCF calls this a, quote, horrible tragedy. It says it is striving to be as transparent as possible, but there are now worries from the community and bipartisan lawmakers that DCF failed Jaqueline Torres Garcia.
Early 2025. That's when the Department of Children and Families thought they last saw Jaqueline Mimi Torres Garcia during a video call. But, according to police, the girl actually died in the fall of 2024.
Do you think the system overall failed Jaqueline?
Absolutely. Completely failed her.
So far publicly, DCF has only provided written statements, but they have talked with lawmakers as reviews get underway. Senator CeCe Marr is the co-chair of the legislature's Children's Committee.
Is the hope to try to prevent something like this from happening again?
110%, of course. We never want this to happen, and nor did DCF want this to happen.
Yet it still keeps happening from state to state when it come down to DCF. You feel me? And then I don't understand it. These police officers, I be seeing a lot of these motherfuckers on TikTok go in some of these abandoned houses that these kids been laying in for years. Get off TikTok. Trying to look cute and shit with your haircuts and shit. Go in some of these abandoned buildings and see what's up in there. You know what I'm saying? It's starting to piss me off a little bit, man.
Lots of emails back and forth.
There are still so many unanswered questions about DCF's involvement, so we've come here to DCF's office in Hartford.
We were looking to talk with someone in person.
Hi there, I'm Matt Austin with NBC Connecticut. We're doing a story about the death of Jaqueline Torres Garcia, and there's a lot of questions we're trying to get answered about that, about how it happened.
Security told us we needed to call the department for an interview. In a statement, a staffer told us, "We are in the process of reviewing our past history with the family consistent with our standard practice. We will not be conducting any on-camera interviews at this time." Back in January 2013, DCF says it was first involved with the family when Jaqueline was born and her mother was in a detention center. Then in September of 2022, an investigation into Jaqueline's younger siblings started, and DCF says it later determined Jaqueline and her siblings were safe, enrolled in school, and their medical provider did not express concerns. DCF did provide the family help and in November closed the case.
When they said that they provided the family help, with what? With what? Because if nothing was wrong, what are you providing the family help with? You know what I'm saying? I need to understand this shit because this is an ongoing problem that we're having. And the only things that's happening is more kids is being unalived. I'm just trying to understand, well, what?
Definitely want to know in chronological order every step along the way.
From the fall of 2022 through Jaqueline's death, believed to be in 2024, DCF says for those 2 years it was not involved with the family and it, quote, did not receive any reports of child abuse or neglect regarding the family.
Had there been any reports that she had been missing? Had anybody raised concerns, either from school districts or anybody, about where she had been for months?
No.
Okay, see, then that bothers me with the grandparents. Because from 2022 to 2024, you know what I'm saying? I mean, no communication with your grandkid, to me, should be alarming. You should want to, as a grandparent, do your own check. Call the police, say, hey, I have not seen my grandkid. Every time I'm trying to FaceTime her or talk to her, the mama is saying something different. Can I please see her? Can somebody go do a wellness check? 2 years to me is a lot of time to not lay eyes on somebody, y'all.
In January 2025, DCF says it got involved with the family again amid allegations concerning a younger sibling. There was a video call with someone Carla Garcia allegedly claimed was Mimi and that her daughter was being homeschooled and staying with a relative out of state. Again, police say Garcia only later confessed the girl had actually been dead at the time of the call.
We need a photograph of that child in the case files so that when we're having something like this, then we know who we're looking at.
I agree.
Now, a state hearing about all this is expected in several months once the investigations are done. It's worth it to point out that for 32 years, the Department of Children and Families had been under federal court oversight amid beliefs the system was broken. That review ended in 2022. The judge, plaintiffs, and DCF commissioner at the time credited a 3-decade-long turnaround, including hiring an adequate workforce, caseload limits, and placing more children with family, instead of being bounced around in foster care. And during the oversight, the number of kids in DCF care dropped in half. And now I want to bring in my colleague, Mike Savino. Mike, you've been looking at the state and how it has been funding DCF over the recent years.
Yes, and certainly we've heard plenty about the blame that's been put on DCF, but it has been an agency that's been dealing with some staffing woes. So let's take a look at some numbers. The state budgeted about $270 million in 2017 for all DCF staff. So that's not just caseworkers. And that number actually was going down through 2022 when you just heard about that increase that they've seen in recent years. But over that 10 years, that's just an 11% increase in funding, when state spending overall has jumped by 33%. And the agency told me today that about 30% of new social workers leave in their first year. So lawmakers will definitely be talking about more oversight, but probably funding as well. And then there will likely be a third conversation, one that started after the 2017 death of Matthew Tirado, who was pulled from his public school only to be abused.
What we are concerned about are the people that use the homeschooling system to hide what they're doing to their children.
Some Democrats are renewing their calls for more oversight when families pull their kids out of public school, but that's drawing pushback from homeschooling families.
I wouldn't give a fuck what is drawing pushback. It should be certain stipulations. If a child, okay, if a child, you know what I'm saying, is withdrawn from school, especially from second to fucking, you know what I'm saying, to second to like 10th grade, that is weird to me. You know what I'm saying? Because kids needs to be, sometimes to me, I feel like they should be in a social environment to where they're around other kids. I'm not understanding why there is just not nothing in place to where somebody at least got to physically see these kids. Because I could sit here with my child upwards all the way to 12th grade and really nobody have to lay eyes on them as long as homework is being complete. That means that I can harm a child and nobody would be there to see nothing. All I got to do is continue to lie to the family. You dig what I mean? In so many cases, it seemed like they do this very easy. I don't get that.
Frustrating when it is becoming that political pawn.
The Office of the Child Advocate has recommended multiple times that the state require homeschool families to check in with their local school districts annually.
The caregiver here may not have opted to do that because there would have been some follow-up that they were expecting.
But thousands of opponents descended on the Capitol during a May hearing to voice their opposition. Some critics say the state should focus on fixing DCF.
And these kids should have been found out a lot sooner than
Facts.
they were. And it's more a problem with DCF, I would say, than the homeschool community.
Others are open to a one-time visit from the state, but they don't agree with mandatory visits to schools that they think are part of the problem.
It's a little ironic that the institutions that are struggling with education are going to judge what we're doing or how we're doing it.
But proponents of an annual check-in don't consider this taking away the rights of homeschool families.
I have no interest in regulating curriculum for homeschoolers. I have no interest in anything more than child welfare.
And that was Mike Savino reporting. As you saw, we spoke with Sarah Egan, but we went in depth with her. She was Connecticut's child advocate for more than a decade. She has returned to resume her work at the Hartford-based Center for Children's Advocacy. It calls itself the largest children's legal rights organization in all of New England.
And that is where she spoke with our chief investigator, Len Bestoff. Sarah Egan headed the investigations into some of the state's worst abuse cases from 2013 to 2024. Len, I imagine you had a lot to talk about with her.
Oh my gosh, so much to unpack. There are lots of ground to cover. But what we want to talk about here is Sarah Egan's understanding of the Department of Children and Families guidelines for conducting video interviews to assess a child's well-being. In Mimi Garcia's case, it appears her family used an imposter in a video call when Mimi was already dead.
Virtual visits are not the norm in investigations.
Former Connecticut child advocate Sarah Egan tells us the protocol.
There's no way in the world I'm feeling confident over a video call. If I'm somebody who is advocating for children. In this day and age where AI and all type of for God's sakes, King Von and Elvis Presley can walk down the street with AI. I'm not feeling a video call. I think you need to have physically a person to go over there and lay eyes on the child. Are you fucking serious to me right now? Like, that don't even make sense to me right now. They ain't even making no, not in this day and age.
Call for DCF caseworkers is to do these well-being checks in person and multiple times, and that caregivers of the child are also assessed.
Are virtual visits ever permitted with children? Again, the strong default requirement is no. DCF policy does allow for virtual visits in more extraordinary circumstances.
Egan adds that in most cases, the DCF file on a child will have pictures of the girl or boy and their families. But there may be other factors at play, such as caseworker turnover.
It is not uncommon for a family who comes back to DCF's attention to have a new caseworker and a new supervisor, right? And that creates opportunities, but it also creates challenges for continuity.
Everybody felt this little girl.
Issues and needs and
it's so
risks in that
frustrating.
family system.
Egan emphasizes most visits are done in person, something even getting tracked post-COVID.
Because that's been an issue that has concerned policymakers, and they've drafted bills to require visits to be in person, and the department has issued strong assurances to policymakers that they conduct their visits in person with children and families. So I think this is an unusual disclosure that I'm sure policymakers will want to hear and understand more about.
We have reached out to the DCF about its video call protocols, and we have not heard back.
Of course you haven't.
Those discussions about this topic will hopefully be part of the legacy that Mimi Garcia leaves. To that point, Egan said she and others will be advocating in the upcoming legislative session for more transparency when cases like this get investigated.
We're going to look at another clip when it comes down to Mimi. And first of all, let me just make something very clear. A legacy should require more age than 11. The fuck? You know what I'm saying? This stuff is starting to really piss me off, bro. And one of the common denominators is DCF. But here's the thing. Family as well. You know what I mean? All of us play a part in this shit. From schools to the family, because I'm not understanding. If a child was once in my custody and I was like a father to that child, I cannot fathom 2 years going by and me not having a physical, I haven't physically seen this child in the flesh. Now, grandmama and granddaddy, you did great. I promise you, it's not all your fault, but I'm not understanding why 2 years had to pass before somebody saying something ain't right.
Jaqueline likely died in the fall.
We won't go through this whole entire video, but I just want to look at some more things from this video, but it's just frustrating to me.
Jaqueline likely died in the fall of 2024 while her family was still residing in Farmington. Evidence indicates that Jaqueline was the victim of prolonged physical abuse and malnourishment prior to her death.
A shocking update in the case of the remains of a young girl found in a box behind a vacant home in Connecticut. Authorities just held a news conference announcing the arrest of Jaqueline Torres' mom. That woman is now accused in the murder of her own daughter. A death that took place allegedly 1 year ago, but was not discovered until last week. The suspect's sister is also under arrest, and the suspect's boyfriend is on the run. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. As what we just learned from authorities in Connecticut in the case of Jaqueline Torres is just so shocking, it is so sad, it is so disturbing. I want to show you first, before we get into the details, this is Jaqueline Torres. She was 12 years old. Authorities have confirmed it was her body that was found in a container outside a vacant home in New Britain, Connecticut. Those remains found last week on Wednesday, just around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Now here's an image of that home. Again, this was a vacant, rundown house. Authorities say the remains, they were in a container in the backyard, and they were badly decomposed. Now authorities conducted several tests, and they have confirmed.
See, that's what startles me. Nobody can smell that. Because I'm looking at it, it looks like to me that it's people living around this vacant area. I mean, like, because see, listen, at this point in time, I know when it comes down to certain kids that we were, you know what I'm saying, we were reacting to last year. I understand that if we find some of those kids now, there's not going to be a lot to find. However, it at least brings some type of closure for the family. But nobody, there was nothing, no alarm. That blows me.
The remains are those of the 12-year-old Jaqueline Torres. Now, Torres' dad told local television station WFSB that he did not have custody of his daughter. She lived full-time with her mom, Carla Garcia. I'll have much more on her in just a moment. Torres' dad also told the TV station that he had not seen his daughter for months, and the date that he gave was at least January 29th. That was her 12th birthday. So we knew there was this big question out there of just how long was it since this girl was last seen by anyone. And nothing could have prepared us for what authorities just said in a news conference. This is per WTNH-TV.
Investigators from the Farmington Police Department, with the assistance from the New Britain Police Department, have determined that Jaqueline likely died in the fall of 2024 while her family was still residing in Farmington.
See, Dad, I know this wasn't all your fault, but you saying you last seen your daughter January. They're saying they seen her in the fall. I mean, no activity? See, because the fall would be September, October, correct? So that's almost 9 months of... Okay, let me just keep going.
Evidence indicates that Jaqueline was the victim of prolonged physical abuse and malnourishment prior to her death. It is also believed that following her death, Jaqueline's body was kept in the family's basement and subsequently moved when the family relocated from Farmington in March of 2025.
Fall of 2024, roughly 1 year ago. And the mayor of New Britain says no one ever filed a missing persons report. No one ever
So damn
asked
cute,
where was Jaqueline Torres until her body was found last week outside that vacant home in New Britain. Now, what made this even more disturbing, and you just heard it there, this family used to live in a community called Farmington, which is about 15 minutes away from New Britain, and authorities believe that this young girl's body, after she died, was kept in the basement of a house in Farmington, and it even moved with the family once they left Farmington in March of this year. And then, allegedly, Carla Garcia, the mom of Jaqueline Torres, as well as her sister and her boyfriend, worked together to abandon this body in a container in the backyard of that vacant home. Jaqueline Torres' mom, again, her name Carla Garcia, she is being held on a $5 million bond right now, and she is facing a charge of murder with special circumstances. We also learned that Carla's sister...
She a different type of bitch, bro. Different type of bitch. You know, you moving the baby that you just know you didn't hurt. You know what I'm saying? I want her to go underneath the dirt, all of them. You know what I'm saying? Because when they was over there moving that shit, man, they knew that baby was, you know what I'm saying? You know, that's some real psycho shit when you think about it.
Named Jaqueline Garcia, she is facing charges in connection to Jaqueline Torres' death. There is an active warrant out as well for Carla's boyfriend. He has not been taken into custody as of yet, and police are hoping that the public can help track him down. Police say that Carla and her sister were arrested on Sunday night. At this point, it is unclear what the motive would be for allegedly murdering this 12-year-old girl. But then you did hear that this girl was the victim, allegedly, of prolonged abuse and malnourishment. New Britain's mayor was asked if anyone had put in a report about this girl missing since last year. Here's how she answered that question per WTNH.
Have there been any reports that she'd been missing? Had anybody raised concerns, either from school districts or anybody, about where she'd been for months?
No.
DC.
I never wanted to punch somebody in the face as bad as I did with this lady right here. Did she just answer that like that? Who is, hold on.
No.
And honestly speaking, this is the answer that we usually have to take too. You see how goofy this motherfucker?
DCF, according to authorities, was involved with this family, and that definitely raises some major questions when it comes to the oversight of this family, especially considering how long it allegedly was since she died. How is it that no one asked where Jaqueline Torres was for an entire year? Now, it's unclear when she was last in school. We did know before the announcement that Jaqueline Torres was the victim in this case, that New Britain schools released a statement saying that they wouldn't comment on the case specifically, but they were aware of what they called unconfirmed reports that the victim was a, quote, former student. In putting together a story like this, where we're trying to answer questions about who the people are potentially involved, a great resource for us is truthfinder.com. Here at Law and Crime, we partner with special circumstances and tampering with physical evidence. Both suspects who have been arrested, so Carla Garcia and her sister, they're expected in court tomorrow in Connecticut. Here's more of what authorities had to say not too long ago per WTNH-TV.
Let me start by thanking all of you for joining us here today. I want to start this press conference by offering my condolences to those dealing with all of the emotions and frustrations around and surrounding these absolutely terrible circumstances. Our prayers and our thoughts go to the family. From the beginning, every agency that was involved in this investigation has been in constant communication with one another and worked tirelessly towards one common goal, and I can say that now our goal has always been to seek justice for Jaqueline Torres. I want to thank the men and women that are standing behind me who have been working around the clock to get us to this point. There have been a very concerning amount of rumors and mistruths that have been posted all over social media, and our goal today is to provide you with as many of the facts as we can. On a personal note, as a mother, this makes me sick to my stomach to be standing here today with what we're about to tell you. On Wednesday, October 8th, when a report of suspicious activity at 80 Clark Street in New Britain came in from an anonymous caller requesting police, responding officers had no idea what they would be walking into. This caller reported suspicious activity at a known abandoned house in their neighborhood. This house had been vacant for over 2 years, and it is owned by an out-of-state landlord from New York. None of those determined to be involved with this case have ever resided at this property. I want to thank the initial caller for speaking up, for having the courage to say something. Without that initial call, no one can say for certain where we would be at this point in time. I want to welcome to the podium the Farmington Town Council Chair, Joe Capodeferro, to offer a few words.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Joe Capodeferro, the Town Council Chair of Farmington. I can't really add too much more to what the mayor just said, but first I offer my condolences to everybody that's been affected in this tragedy. This type of investigation not only has affected the community, but also all that have worked in this investigation to bring justice for Jaqueline. I want to thank the members of the Farmington Police Department, New Britain Police Department, Connecticut State Police, the state's attorney's offices of New Britain and Litchfield.
You know, the police kill me. Cause you know, they forever working together and shit after the tragedy. Y'all don't work together before the shit so where it could be prevented. You know, I don't give a fuck. You know, the men that's standing behind me. It ain't no kudos for this shit.
In the Chief of Medical Examiner's office. And I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you for your partnership and all the cooperation with
There's absolutely no reason for him to step up to the podium.
The Chief of Police of the City of New Britain, Matthew Marino.
Thank you, Mayor. First, on behalf of all the men and women here from the New Britain Police Department and the Farmington Police Department, I'd like to echo the Mayor's initial remarks and offer our sincerest condolences to those impacted by this tragedy. There are no words that can make sense of a situation like this. Since October 8th, it has been the goal of every law enforcement agency involved to seek justice. While the limited information provided until today undoubtedly resulted in increased frustration across our communities, the purpose was to avoid any potential damage to the integrity of this investigation. To suggest any other explanation is an unfair judgment on the people you see standing behind me. This was not easy for anyone, and we should all take the time to recognize that their efforts are what brought us to this point, less than a week later. Now I'd like to give everyone a bit of a timeline. After responding officers made their initial discovery, the property of 80 Clark Street was established as a crime scene. Based on discussions with the New Britain State's Attorney's Office, the Connecticut State Police Central District Major Crimes Unit was requested to assist with processing this scene. At that time, the remains discovered inside the plastic storage bin were in an advanced state of decomposition. As a result, arrangements were made with the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner for assistance. Members of our detective division continued to piece together what limited information was available to better determine a timeline and possible sequence of events leading up to our initial response.
You know, as a mother, what's pissing me the fuck off the most is not only did you unalive your child, but then you discarded her, right? And left her in a cold, stank-ass basement, right? You then moved, and then you discarded her again. And then left just left her again, like she was nothing. And that's your daughter. How do people sleep good? I never understand this type of shit in cases like this. I didn't understand it the night that Naziah went missing. You know, how did Annette and Shannon sleep that night? You know, knowing for a fact you don't know where this little girl could be. Or do you? That's the only way to me that you sleep good. It's because you know where they are. Like, it's no way that you could be sitting here, you know, trying to piece together where they are and sleep well. It's just no way.
Through a cooperative and intensive investigation involving our department, the Farmington Police Department, Connecticut State Police, the Office of the State's Attorney for the Judicial Districts of Litchfield and New Britain, and the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, the child we found was positively identified as 12-year-old Jaqueline Torres. Now, while our efforts continued, we were made aware of and monitored several pieces of information circling different social media outlets, and I'd like to dispel some of those rumors. At no point during the course of this investigation was anyone arrested then released. Several individuals were brought in for interviews at different times over the last 5 days, but no official arrests were made until last night. At no point were requests for information being ignored. The limited information provided since last Wednesday came after careful consideration and much conversation with every agency involved, with the sole purpose of seeking justice for Jaqueline by not compromising any part of this investigation.
It's more to the story. It's a lot more to the story because she has other children. I'm trying to understand, why was it that Jaqueline was the only person that was starved? Why was she the person targeted? It's not adding up to me. Why does the boyfriend the boyfriend of her tie into this? It's more that's got to be uncovered. Something ain't smelling right. I smell shit. You feel me? Something else is not adding up. I'm not understanding why in the fuck are you starving her all of a sudden? This ain't adding up. Is it just me?
Any notifications that were made carefully by law enforcement officers in accordance with state guidelines and not done in any way that could create doubt or conflict regarding procedure being followed. And now at this time, I'd like to turn the podium over to Chief Paul Melanson of the Farmington Police Department, who has additional information. Thank you. Investigators from the Farmington Police Department, with the assistance from the New Britain Police Department, have determined that Jaqueline likely died in the fall of 2024 while her family was still residing in Farmington. Evidence indicates that Jaqueline was the victim of prolonged physical abuse and malnourishment prior to her death.
See, they not saying a lot. Prolonged physical abuse of what? Cause see, I'm trying to understand why all of these people would be tied. It's one thing for a mother, you know what I'm saying, to unalive her child, but now you got the boyfriend involved and you got the auntie involved. And I'm trying to understand why this little girl was the only person that was targeted. Now, somebody in the comments just asked, did she have a different daddy? I would think that she did. Because at one particular time, he was trying to fight for custody of his daughter, but he didn't show up to the trial date. All right. And it was his people, his mother and father who was taking care of the little girl initially. So it says to me that something wasn't going right with the mother's boyfriend and this little fucking girl, and they need to just say that. Now I wonder if that's the reason why he is up here beat the fuck up. Because something physically was not going on. This looked like one of those situations where the mama, you know what I'm saying, is jealous of her daughter because of the boyfriend. Just like this. You see what I'm saying? It ain't no change with this shit. Or whatever. We got a whole nother case we in with the same type of motherfucking behaviors. So that's what it says to me, because it's not adding up.
It is also believed that following her death, Jaqueline's body was kept in the family's basement and subsequently moved when the family relocated from Farmington in March of 2025. As a result of our investigation, 2 individuals have been taken into custody in connection with Jaqueline's death. Jaqueline's mother, Carla Garcia, was located last night by members of the Farmington and New Britain Police Departments and arrested on the strength of an arrest warrant charging her with Connecticut General Statute 53A-54B, which is murder with special circumstances, along with several other additional charges. Carla's sister, Jaqueline Garcia, was also arrested and charged with Connecticut General Statute 53-20, cruelty to persons under 19 years of age, along with other related charges. Jonathan Nanita, Carla's boyfriend, has an active arrest warrant, which is also charging him with 53A-54B murder with special circumstances, amongst other charges. Additionally, the New Britain Police Department also has obtained an arrest warrant charging Jonathan with 53A-155 tampering with physical evidence for actions taken leading up to the initial police response to 80 Clark Street and the subsequent discovery in the rear yard. A complete list of charges for each of the individuals will be made available at the end of the remarks. But out of respect for all those affected and to ensure the integrity, like Chief Marino had said, of the ongoing investigation, we will not be releasing further details at this time. This case is a deeply heartbreaking and disturbing case. Our detectives, with our local and state partners, have worked tirelessly to uncover the truth and to bring justice for Jaqueline. No child should ever have to endure such suffering. On behalf of the New Britain and Farmington Police Departments, we extend our deepest condolences to all who have been affected by this tragedy.
Thank you, Chief. Today is about providing the facts that we have available from here. The court system will take it and prosecute to the highest extent of the law. I'd like to again send our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Jaqueline Torres, and I would like to open it up for questions now.
Can you tell us the bonds on the individuals?
$5 million.
For two already?
So Carla Garcia is a $5 million bond. Jaqueline Garcia is a $1 million bond. And we have yet to pick up, and we are asking for the public's assistance in locating Jonathan. And he does have a $5 million bond on his also.
Are they both expected in court tomorrow?
Yes.
Chief, can you talk anything about motive, anything along those lines at all? What happened here?
Yeah. I think, much like Chief Melanson had said, it's important at this point to leave out some of those major details involved in this case in order to allow for the entire investigation to play itself out.
Have there been any reports that she'd been missing? Had anybody raised concerns, either from school districts or anybody, about where she'd been for months?
No.
Can you share anything about the history of any of the people involved as far as the criminal history or any prior actions with law enforcement?
Yeah, we don't have many details at this time. I know that there are reports that have been circling involving some of their criminal histories. We do have limited involvement with each of the people that were involved. Some of it dates back a couple years, some more recent. I can tell you that the most recent interaction we had was a simple motor vehicle stop that resulted in an infraction, but there was not much more than that.
Can you tell us if DCF, if DCF was called prior to any of this? Any other case with them?
Did you want to take that one, Mary?
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm so sick of y'all passing the baton and shit.
I know you can't give details, but DCF, they have a case prior.
Yep. DCF was involved.
Prior to this going on, they did have involvement with the family.
Yes.
Is there a second child involved? Maybe probably the sister. Maybe you could talk about this.
As far as this investigation is concerned, there's no other reports involving any of the other children that are involved.
Or any other.
I bet y'all ain't talked to them. The other children. I bet you ain't.
Children are safe, from this family.
Yeah, during our investigation, contact was made and all of the other children were determined to be safe.
Can one of the chiefs talk about the toll this takes on the men and women dealing with this kind of case and what you found?
So, I mean, obviously, we handle many types of crimes in our line of work. The ones with kids are probably the most difficult, and obviously, the people standing behind me have been working since this call came in nonstop, 24/7. So it takes a toll mentally, physically, and it's very difficult for us to contemplate how this can happen in a civilized society like ours. So 35 years, this is probably one of the worst cases that we've had to. I think the facts that you have, that she probably died a long time ago and was stowed away, is probably enough to show you what we are dealing with here.
I beg to differ, Chief. This has been going on and on and on and on. Shit, I can count at least 13 just last year. I don't understand how you talking about this is the worst. No, it's not. You know what I mean? Or whatever. It's the worst one that you guys have documented to, out loud. But they're everywhere. Shit. You know what I'm saying? You know how many fucking kids we found looking for Nasiah? You dig what I mean? I don't understand this. And none of these kids was reported missing and shit. It's a problem. And I don't understand how everybody keep getting paychecks for this shit. We don't get paid to not work.
So yes, very, very difficult on everybody handling these cases.
Has the report come back from the medical examiner's office in terms of cause and manner?
No, so we currently have just a verbal right now, but obviously any official report will wait for toxicology results and other sorts of things. So we won't have any reports from the medical examiner for a short period of time.
KT, what it do?
Their verbal report to the detectives. And I won't get too far into it. We have sealed the warrants. Because we are asking anybody who has any other information. People have called since this has been publicized, and we're really asking for anybody else who has any information to come forward and contact either the New Britain or Farmington Police Department, whoever you're comfortable contacting. We are working hand in hand, and everybody had said it. Our goal from the start of this was to bring justice for whoever murdered Jaqueline. And that's what we think that we have started to do last night by taking 2 into custody. But this doesn't end here.
And this news report was a little long. I mean, it was a little late. They do now have the boyfriend in custody as well too. I was just giving a lot of you guys a little bit of backstory of what was going on, because again, going into this year, we are already, you know what I'm saying, kids, listen, there are Nasiahs everywhere. That's just all I can say. I really want you guys to start doing deep dives in your own community, because we have an ongoing problem. There is a spiritual warfare that is going crazy on our kids right now. But the thing that's so hurtful, and the things that is starting to become a common denominator when it come down to these things, is family and CPS. Okay? And it's gonna take us, the village, to start breaking some of this shit open. I'm not even gonna lie, because it bothers me that a year can go by and nobody is even thinking about where the child could be. It baffles me.
Right? Like any investigation like this, this will go on and on for the days, months, and actually years to come. So we will still continue to look up any lead that we can. But we really do need anybody who has any information about this to please contact one of the police departments, which is why we do not want to release too many details, because we are looking for people to come forward who have some firsthand information on it.
I pray to God that this is going to be one of the cases that I'm going to be following. I want everybody to suffer. I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of seeing these kids getting caught up in our shit. As adults, you got to be able to understand, or you got to be able to come to terms with saying, I don't want to be a parent. But you need to figure these things out before you procreate. Because a lot of you parents and family members are starting to really piss me the fuck off. Because no 11-year-old should have to worry about what they're going to eat or starving and things like this. And she just was so adorable. And I just don't understand how a little kid would have to deal with those type of problems at 11 and 12 years old. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I want to know how y'all feel. Drop it down in the comments. Y'all stay tuned, okay?